You believed it was your home, a shared sanctuary, an anchor. This was an illusion. Understand this. When territory is shared, it is never truly yours. It operates as a contested zone, a temporary armistice. Every spatial boundary, every resource allocation, from thermostat settings to financial investments in property upkeep, became a point of negotiation, a subtle form of biological competition. Your personal space, your strategic environment, was not a command center, it was a compromise. It was a constant resource drain on your energy reserves, a liability that eroded your emotional sovereignty through incessant, often unspoken conflict. Consider the biological imperative. A secure territory is fundamental for stability and resource accumulation. When that territory is shared, its security is conditional. Its function shifts from a fortress to a stage for the script of domestic politics. Your home, once a supposed haven, devolved into a battleground for emotional and financial resources. Every object, every room, potentially became a point of contention, a reminder of the fractured dynamic. This is not about sentimentality, it is about command and control over your primary operational base. The collapse of a relationship often leaves a man disoriented, without a physical or psychological anchor. You perceive this situation as a profound loss. This perception is flawed. You are not losing a home. You are reclaiming a fortress. You are establishing your sovereign command center. This is not a retreat. It is a strategic re-establishment of your base of operations. A space where your rules dictate the terms, where your energy is conserved, and where your strategic advantage can be rebuilt, unimpeded by the constant negotiation and compromise that defined your previous shared existence. Your domain becomes exactly that. Your domain. Uncontested. Sovereign. This is the foundation from which you rebuild. The male organism, by its biological design, requires a secure territory. Without it, the system remains in a state of elevated vigilance, a resource drain that impedes optimal function. This isn't an emotional yearning for space, it is a physiological necessity. Your previous environment was likely a zone of constant negotiation, a shared matrix where your control was diluted, leading to a chronic elevation of stress hormones. A solo living space is not a retreat into isolation. Understand this distinction. It is a strategic acquisition, your primal command post. It is the re-establishment of your biological anchor in the resource matrix. When your immediate environment is under your sole, undisputed control, your entire physiology shifts. Cortisol levels, the markers of chronic stress, drop. The noise, the constant data input from a shared domain, ceases. Your neural pathways, once overloaded, begin to recalibrate. Cognitive function improves. Your ability to process information, to analyze risks, and to execute strategic planning becomes sharper. This is about optimizing your internal environment, a biological imperative for recovery and for establishing true emotional sovereignty. Your fortress becomes a sanctuary for your operating system. It is where you rebuild your baseline, free from external interference, free from the constant erosion of your control. This is where you engineer your next moves, unburdened by the parasitic demands of a compromised territory. Consider the prior state. Shared habitation was a perpetual resource drain. Your financial architecture, once compromised by a secondary locus of control, now operates without diversion. Every unit of capital, every asset on your balance sheet aligns with your singular strategic objectives. This is not about merely saving, it is about directed power. The parasitic resource diversion that bled your accounts siphoned your investment capital. This mechanism is now deactivated. This principle extends beyond mere currency. Your time, once subject to negotiation for trivial domestic conflicts or the emotional demands of another, becomes a non-renewable asset, allocated with surgical precision. Your mental energy, previously consumed by perpetual low-level friction and compliance mechanisms, is now repatriated, ready for cognitive heavy lifting. Even physical space within your fortress, once a battleground for aesthetic preference or territorial disputes, now serves only your operational parameters. Decisions are no longer subject to emotional leverage or the inertia of consensus. They are made, executed, and analyzed with unadulterated efficiency. This is the architecture of an unfettered resource hub. It is pure efficiency. It is the strategic advantage required for reascension, for resource acquisition, and for the defense of your future. Your home, your fortress, becomes the central node of this optimized operation, a testament to your renewed emotional sovereignty. Your operational base, your fortress, is more than just walls and a roof. It is the primary zone for establishing emotional sovereignty. This cannot be achieved in a shared space. When external emotional impedance is present, the constant negotiation of another's mood, their desires, their biological imperatives, your capacity for independent internal processing is fundamentally compromised. You are reacting, not strategizing. Consider this solo fortress a laboratory for self-reconstruction. It provides the necessary isolation to analyze data without contamination. What data? The events that led to your current position, the resource drain, the shifts in sexual market value, the miscalculations in risk assessment. You process these events not through sentiment, but through cold, logical dissection. This isn't about wallowing, it's about forensic analysis. This isolation is not weakness, it is a strategic advantage. Solitude provides the optimal environment to engineer your next operational phase. You fortify your psychological defenses against future incursions, against the predictable patterns of biological competition. Here, you conduct the cold, rational examination of past failures. You identify the vulnerabilities that were exploited. You calculate the precise adjustments required for future success. This is where you rebuild your mental architecture, brick by brick, free from the noise of external expectations or demands. This space is engineered for the sole purpose of making you resilient. You have established your perimeter. You have secured your space. This structure, this personal domain you now inhabit, is not a mausoleum for your past failures. It is a launch pad. It is your command center. Here, within these walls, you recalibrate your internal systems. You are consolidating your remaining resources, financial, physical, and cognitive. This environment is engineered to serve as the base from which you will initiate your next phase of dominance. This is not isolation. Understand this clearly. This is strategic positioning. Every element within this fortress contributes to your recalibration. The order you impose on your physical space mirrors the order you will impose on your mental landscape. Each routine you establish, each object placed with intent, reinforces your control. Your sleep cycle, your nutritional intake, your physical conditioning. These are not arbitrary choices. They are systems. They are inputs designed to output. This deliberate reconstruction is critical. This is where you rebuild your emotional sovereignty. The external chaos, the resource drain, the biological competition that defined your recent past, they cease to penetrate this threshold. You are no longer reacting to external stimuli. You are generating internal directives. Your focus shifts from what was taken to what will be built. This is where you engineer the future iteration of yourself. This is where you develop the strategic blueprint for reclaiming your financial resources, for re-establishing your parental access, for repositioning yourself in the social and sexual market value hierarchy. The impulse for self-pity is a biological deviation, a drain on your adaptive capacity. Discipline is the only corrective. Control is the only currency that matters in this game. This fortress is not a hiding place. It is the crucible for your ascendancy.